What up, Cuts? It's the Hater here with your NXT Portland review. All right, a lot happened on the show. I won't tell you guys how I felt about the show until it's time, I guess. Until the end of the video, you understand what I'm saying? So, yeah, let's get to it. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. We'll see, right, guys? We'll see. All right, so the first thing that happens before the matches even start, we get some broad coming out looking like Maleficent, right? She's got a band behind her, and they start singing. This girl was weird looking. I did not enjoy this one bit. Apparently, this band is the band that did the theme song for this this episode, this event, if you will, right? Now, the problem with this is that every 30 minutes they remind us to, go on Spotify or Apple Music and listen to Poppy for making their or her. I don't know if Poppy's the broad or the whole band. Who knows? Who cares, right? But it started off like that to give it a big event feel. In my opinion, didn't really work. I didn't enjoy it. So there you go. Not really my kind of music. Not total garbage either, but I did not enjoy it. Next up, we had the highly anticipated match between Keith Lee, whom I like very much, and Donovan Dijakovic, who also I enjoy. Now, here's the problem with this match, right? I did not like this match one bit. First of all, the match started out and these two guys were wrestling like cruiserweights. Now, that's cool once in a while, right? It's cool to have big guys do athletic things, and both of these guys can do very athletic things. I was especially surprised and impressed by Dominic Dijakovic, who at one point did like a corkscrew senton moonsault type thing. I'm not even sure if it was a moonsault or a senton. Now, the problem with this was that it only got a 2 count. This was a problem that was evident in every match on the card. So he hits this move, gets a 2 count, right? And I'm like, all right, fine. It wasn't like near the end of the match, so you can justify that by being like, all right, he hit it early. Because I guess the logic behind a wrestling match is if you hit a finisher, the guy's already tired, right? It's not that like Hulk Hogan can't do the leg drop until the end of the match. It's that if he does it, it won't get the finish, right? You have to wear the person down, then you hit him with your finisher, right? That's kind of the idea. I mean, in most cases, sometimes the match starts, the guy hits a finisher and pins the guy immediately, which, typically we call that a horrible wrestling match, but it was what it was, right? Now, these two guys, first of all, Dominic Dijakovic is too lanky, all right? This guy needs to put on some size. Now, he's obviously a big guy. He's like 6'7", and he's in good shape. He's not like puny, obviously, or fat or anything like that, but considering that he's so tall, he just looks too lanky. And Keith Lee, I don't want to say I'm over it, right? But I'm kind of over it, man. Like, I was the first to jump on the Keith Lee bandwagon on the hype train. I didn't even jump on the bandwagon. I was one of the first people who said this guy deserves more. And he does deserve more. I still believe that, right? But this kind of let's wrestle like cruiserweights thing makes it seem really choreographed, and that's a problem with wrestling matches. This match could have been a very enjoyable match if the first half of it was deleted. Except for, and here's where it got really shitty in my opinion. This match, to me, was just ruined, right? At one point, Keith Lee hits my favorite wrestling move right now, the Spirit Bomb. The Spirit Bomb is like a last ride, sit down power bomb, right? So, and Keith Lee is a big guy, so let's keep those two things in mind. It's the same thing when Dominic Dijakovic does the corkscrew moonsault, right? He's a big guy, so if he lands on you, it hurts more than if Angel Garza lands on you. So the implications should be what they are. That when that happens, you go down, right? If that's a finishing move if Leo Rush can beat someone using a frog splash, Leo Rush is like 130 pounds, right? If he can beat someone with a frog splash, shouldn't a corkscrew moonsault from a giant like Dijakovic be enough to just end lives? The answer is yes, but they didn't play it like that. They didn't allow it to be that way. So I did not enjoy that whatsoever. Cucks. Now, after he hits the Spirit Bomb, Dijakovic, he lands powerbomb style and then just does like a back roll and stands up, right? He completely no-sells it. You just got hit with an elevated sit-out powerbomb, right? Batista did a powerbomb, the Batista bomb, right? He didn't elevate the guy. Taker did the last ride, which for many years was his main finisher, and he didn't sit out to do it. Keith Lee is comparable in size and in strength to Batista and Undertaker. He might even be stronger than those motherfuckers. And he does this move, and Dijakovic rolls out of it like nothing happened. Like nothing happened, man. You know, you have to keep this in mind. Like, wrestling cannot be viewed from a lens of just one match in a vacuum, right? You have to look at the whole picture, right? And if you don't look at the whole picture, you can at least look at today's show. And this was inconsistent with how other matches were booked. After that, Keith Lee hits another spirit bomb. Pins Dijakovic, and I'm like, all right. They wanted to give Dijakovic this, like, you know, he had like 1 second left in him, and he just used that second to take another spirit bomb. Took the spirit bomb. Now, here's the problem. This some bitch kicked out of it. Dijakovic kicked out of it. Eventually, Keith Lee hit the, what's it called? The Big Bang Catastrophe, which is a cool name and a pretty cool move. It's like a fireman's carry into a jackhammer. You know, it looks tight. Keith Lee's a big guy, so it's a good move. I think the spirit bomb is better, but this is a good move too. And he pins him. You know, I'm thinking to myself, come on, man. 2 spirit bombs? Like, nobody should be able to kick out of that. Like, Batista put down Triple H with a Batista bomb. He put down JBL with a Batista bomb. He's put down John Cena, I'm sure, with a Batista bomb. He's put down everyone with a Batista bomb. So I'm thinking to myself, and Undertaker, same thing, you know, with The Last Ride. So I'm thinking, like, what the fuck is happening here, you know? What the fuck is going on? You have to have some sort of logic and consistency in this kind of stuff. But for that reason, I did not enjoy this match. In the end, they hug it out, you know, which I also don't like. I don't like how everyone's friends now, you know. I don't just mean in wrestling, but I mean in sports in general. Next up, we had the first skippable match of the day, Tegan Nox versus Dakota Kai. This match, I thought was garbage. And here's why. Number one, I don't care at all, right? Dakota Kai was a jobber in NXT for a long time. Like, Shayna Baszler was, like, bullying her and beating her on a weekly basis, and no one cared. And then Tegan Nox, I don't care what people tell me. One of my friends was telling me, like, Tegan Nox was supposed to be, like, she was supposed to have, like, the, what's her face? The Rhea Ripley spot. Like, what Rhea Ripley's doing, it should have been Tegan Nox, which I find hard to believe, number one. And two, if that were the case, that's stupid. Now, Tegan Nox, because I didn't know who the fuck she was, I don't know if she was in NXT UK or something, but what I do know is that she came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, she's supposed to be 2 things. 1, a serious name, and 2, someone that we care about. And I believe she is neither of those 2 things, cucks. She's not a serious wrestler, nor is she someone that I care about. The match was a bunch of bullshit, right? It had some good moments. It was a street fight. It had some, like, high-impact moves. But eventually the match ended in a screwy fashion. And I'll get to that in 1 second. But first, I want to talk about how Tegan Nox did a top rope chokeslam on Dakota Kai. Now, here's the problem, right? Here's the problem with all of this. Tegan Nox was up on the turnbuckle, right? And Dakota Kai climbs up. Tegan Nox just puts her hand around her throat, and Dakota Kai just jumps backwards while Tegan Nox pushes her arm forward, right? So I don't know if this is indicative of how good Tegan Nox is or how shitty everyone is, right? Because this was garbage. This looked like shit. It looked like she just grabbed someone by the throat. The person just instinctively knew when grabbed by the throat, jump backwards, right? Now, the reason I say I don't know if this is Tegan Nox's problem or an overall problem is because the match finished in a very similar fashion. Some Gonzalez broad came out, and like at first I'm like, oh, is that Melina? It's like a box body Melina. You know, this woman had a serious box body. For those of you that don't know what a box body is, picture a refrigerator and a human being shaped like that. You know, so this girl, I thought she looked like Melina in the face until Beth Phoenix said, "Oh my God, it's like whatever Gonzalez, right? Like Mariana Gonzalez, whatever the fuck her name was, right?" So I'm like, all right, cool. You're introducing someone new. I mean, you have to introduce someone new eventually, but this is not a good way to do it. She's, I guess, the Diesel to Dakota Kai's Shawn Michaels, but right. But what happened was Tegan Nox was on the top turnbuckle, had put Dakota Kai, I forgot her name, Dakota Kai on a table and wrapped a chair around her neck, and she was going to do something nefarious from the top rope. However, the Gonzalez broad came in and clubbed her in the back of the head. Now, Dakota Kai rolled out of the way, and Tegan Nox sold this club to the head as if she just got hit by a hammer, right? Like, people, this is the problem. When you have one wrestler not going down to a spirit bomb and the other wrestler just gets hit with an arm and then is down forever, you know, I don't like that. Then the Gonzalez broad climbed the turnbuckle, right? She grabbed not Dakota Kai, Tegan Nox by the throat, and Tegan Nox then proceeded. She was on the second rope. She proceeded to climb to the top rope and then suicide herself into the the table, right? This was presented as if the Gonzalez broad threw her, but it was not like that at all. What happened was she just climbed her, like the Gonzalez broad grabbed her by the neck, she climbed to the top rope and just jumped onto the table, and she missed. She just hit her head on the table, which looked pretty vicious. But it just shows to me like these girls either don't understand wrestling, are not athletic enough to do it, or they don't care. Those are the only three explanations, right? Because it didn't even seem as if the Gonzalez broad was trying to lift her up to the top rope. She just grabbed her by the throat, and Tegan Knox just climbed by herself and just jumped onto the table. It was so poorly done that I couldn't get past it. I'm not saying the match would have been great otherwise, but this just really, really ruined it. Next up, we had Finn Balor versus Johnny Gargano. Now, this match, I know it's going to sound weird. This match I kind of enjoyed. It. And the reason I enjoyed it was mainly Finn Balor, and I'll explain why, right? It's no secret. I think Finn Balor sucks ass. But I will say this. Finn Balor in NXT, more importantly, Finn Balor wrestling the likes of Johnny Gargano is good. It's a good thing. It's a good decision. Whoever made that decision should get a raise, unless it was Triple H, in which case he should get fired and let someone else take care of NXT. You understand what I'm saying? But it was a good move. Why? I'll tell you why. During the whole Finn Balor getting signed scenario, right? A lot of people, like, at that time, the John Cena hate was really, really high, right? And one of the arguments was John Cena has the 5 moves of doom. Then Finn Balor comes to the main roster, or even in NXT, because when he was in NXT originally, they had big people. Like he was wrestling like the Ascension, Samoa Joe, what's his face, Kevin Owens, right? He was wrestling like serious big motherfucks, So with that in mind, it's like he's limited, right? So Finn Balor was doing his 3 moves. So I'm thinking to myself, man, this guy's only got 3 moves, right? But this match made me realize why that is, right? Because in this match, Finn Balor did substantially more than 3 moves. Like there was a point where he was working Gargano's like leg and knee, right? And this made sense. The context of the match made sense. You have to slow down Gargano because he's a speedy threat, if you will, right? Now I thought to myself, if Finn Balor did this to Brock Lesnar, right? If Finn Balor was working Brock Lesnar's leg, it would just look ridiculous. Brock Lesnar should just be able to shoo this guy away, just kick him with his other leg and end his life, right? So against Brock Lesnar, Finn Balor is forced to wrestle just doing drop kicks, right? A sling blade and then the double stomp. That's all he can do against Brock Lesnar, believably. He can't do anything else. It's foolish, right? And this is why weight classes in real sports exist. Because in a real fight, you can't do anything when someone is 120 pounds bigger than you. Do you understand what I'm saying? You just can't. Like at a certain point, you can't even injure them, So when he's fighting a small guy like Gargano, who looked extra small today, motherfucks, right? It's reasonable that Finn Balor can do things like take control of the match, right? Things that we've never seen him do, And that's why he was popular in Japan, in my opinion. I never really watched him in Japan, but I know he was popular. He was popular because he was in the junior heavyweight division, right? Where everyone's small. In Japan, everyone's small like that. But especially in the junior division, it's conceivable, like if he had a match with Kenny Omega, another smaller guy, right, it would be reasonable for him to do these moves. Now, if he had a match with John Cena or Batista, right, that's just foolish. That becomes ridiculous, right? That's why the only way that a cruiserweight should be wrestling a heavyweight is if the cruiserweight is a legitimate, 215 pounds, like a Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins probably weighs less than 220 in real life, right? But he wrestles in a way, he's big enough, and he wrestles in a way where he can do some of the moves, like he's strong enough to lift someone and powerbomb them. He has sneaky moves like the stomp. He has something to him, right? He can do moves that seem like they hurt to big guys. Now, smaller motherfuckers like Finn Balor just can't. It's just not in his. And so my appreciation for Finn Balor grew substantially because I realized that at the very least, when he's wrestling on the main roster, he's trying to make it believable in the sense that he can only do drop kicks against I don't know, someone the size of Ryback, let's say, right? He can only do drop kicks against Bray Wyatt. He can't do to Bray Wyatt what he did to Johnny Gargano because they're 2 different species of human. You understand me? So I think the solution is this. NXT is not a solution, but the solution is this. 205 Live, right? 205 Live should be treated seriously. Maybe get rid of 205 Live and just have them on Raw, but dedicate the first hour of Raw exclusively to the cruiserweights, right? Exclusively. Nobody else shows up, just the cruiserweights, right? Now I understand you're sacrificing a bit of Raw and you're probably going to lose some ratings initially, but there's nothing wrong with cruiserweights. There's nothing wrong. I always say this guy's not big enough, right? But what I'm really saying is this guy's not big enough to compete with big people. You know, there's nothing wrong with being a small guy, you know, like if you're short, if you're skinny, that's who you are. And you shouldn't be like prevented from wrestling. Just like if you're a broad, doesn't mean you shouldn't wrestle. But they understand that it makes no sense for, I don't know, fucking Bailey to, you know, wrestle Randy Orton, right? It makes no sense. So they don't do it, right? They have the broads wrestle the broads, and they have time carved out for them on Raw and SmackDown, right? Do the same thing with the cruiserweights, where it makes sense, and then periodically you can have the cruiserweights fight heavyweight, and you can move cruiserweights, right, to heavyweight when the time comes, especially if it's a bigger one, like a Mustafa Ali is a little bit bigger than, like, you know, Leo Rush, let's say, right? And you can do it like that. You can move like that, or at least have like you know, back in the day when Mysterio would sometimes wrestle Kevin Nash, right? And obviously Kevin Nash was going to win, but there were times when Mysterio would have his moments, right? He'd beat heavyweights, he'd do things like that. So do that. That's the way to do it. The problem isn't this. The problem is just if you don't take the cruiserweights seriously, if you don't recognize that the cruiserweights have something to bring, no one will ever appreciate a cruiserweight bodied individual like Finn Balor in the main roster. No one really will. That's why you have to send him back to NXT to fight other cruiserweight jobbers, right? NXT now is 205 Live. Like everyone except for Dominic Dijakovic and Keith Lee, everyone is just a midget. Everyone's small, you know? And that's fine. You can put on a good match. Like this was a good match. It wasn't a great match, but it was a good match. Finn Balor did a lot of things, right? There was a story to be told. Again, the problem was that there was a lot of, no selling, but not so much in this match. Because in this match, the story of this match was more Finn Balor can't hit his finishers, and Johnny Gargano's finisher is a submission move, so it's okay to get out of that. It's a little bit different, right? So Johnny Gargano got the Gargano escape once or twice, but Balor escaped or got the ropes or something, and then Balor eventually hit what is now called the John Woo dropkick, his little shotgun dropkick. He hit that, and then he hit the double foot stomp, the coup de grace, and then he hit the 1916, which this time it looked like shit, but it's a good move. And it's a move that he can't do to Bray Wyatt. It's physically unbelievable to do that to Bray Wyatt. He can't manhandle someone like Johnny Gargano up like that either, but it's more believable. It's in the realm of possibility. So this match, I actually enjoyed. I'm surprised. I was gonna skip the match, but I enjoyed it. You know, it wasn't bad. You know, then we had Bianca Belair, right, versus Rhea Ripley in this week's Who Gives a Rat's Ass match of the week. Now, the reason why nobody gave a rat's ass about this is because we are already knee deep in the Rhea Ripley Charlotte storyline, right? It's a foregone conclusion that Rhea Ripley and Charlotte would wrestle at WrestleMania. So with that being said, why the fuck would Rhea Ripley lose her title before then? It makes no sense, right? Charlotte has no interest in fighting Rhea Ripley. She has an interest, presumably, in becoming NXT champion. I don't know why. And if you ask me, that's like the most useless match of WrestleMania because obviously, motherfuckers, Charlotte is not going to win. Because if she wins, she has to go back to Florida and wrestle in NXT. And she's not doing that, motherfuckers. She is not doing that. So Rhea Ripley's going to win, right? Unless Charlotte wins and then drops it that Wednesday in NXT to like Dakota Kai or something, right? I don't know. So, which would make no sense, but it is what it is. This match, I skipped most of it. I skipped all the way to the end. Rhea Ripley won by hitting the Riptide from the top row, but not really. Like she grabbed her in the turnbuckle and just kind of hit it. And then Charlotte came out, attacked them both, said, "That's right, motherfuckers. I'll see you at WrestleMania," she said. So that was presented as a big deal. It didn't really feel like one, to be honest. Like Charlotte, I mean, you know, she's been around for a while, but she still feels new. I don't know how to explain it. She still feels new, you know? Like the whole women's division feels new. So it's not this like huge deal. Like it's like if the male equivalent of Charlotte, like let's say Randy Orton did this. Like Randy Orton went and challenged Adam Cole, it would feel much, much bigger, right? Because Randy Orton is a much more established star. And, you know, he's someone that really has no business on NXT, right? But or even Seth Rollins, like not really Seth Rollins, but even Seth Rollins, he's kind of new too in many ways. But anyways, it is what it is, right? I did not enjoy it. I thought it was stupid. But anyways, whatever, right? Then we have the Broserweights versus Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly of the Undisputed Era. Now, all right. First of all, let's get it out there, right? Bobby Fish looks like a 90s porn star, motherfuckers. There actually is a porn star that looks like Bobby Fish. And now Bobby Fish has gray hair, you know, which is cool. There's nothing wrong with having gray hair, but there's something wrong with having gray hair when you're part of a team like the Undisputed Era, where the point of the team, right, is that they're the new kids on the block, like the new era, right? It's their time now. Is it really Bobby Fish's time? Bobby Fish is like 35. Randy Orton is 38. You know, like what the fuck are you talking about? And Randy Orton looks younger, number one. And Randy Orton is a 14-time world champ. So in what world is it Bobby Fish's time or Bobby Roode's time or any Bobby's time, if you ask me, right? So this match was all right. I thought it was a precursor to the Undisputed Era losing all titles since the Broserweights won. I mean, I gotta say it like it is. All right. First of all, Bobby Fish, since we're on that topic, right? Bobby Fish is clearly the weak link of his tag team with Kyle O'Reilly, right? Now, I'm not saying Kyle O'Reilly is the next John Cena, but Kyle O'Reilly, there is a smoothness and a flow to him, right? There is something to him that when he does his little kick combos, it feels natural. His combos are realistic, right? Like they are effective kick strike combos. Like I'm not saying like that a Kyle O'Reilly kick combo could be effectively used in a fight, but it would be much more effectively used in a fight than, let's say, an Aleister Black kick combo or Buddy Murphy kick combo or a Pete Dunne kick combo, right? It makes more sense. It's more effective. Like it's efficient. So I've always have liked Kyle O'Reilly. I've liked Kyle O'Reilly for a long time before he even signed to the WWE. He was one of those people where I'm like, man, this guy deserves something, you know? Again, part of this was colored by the fact that when I saw him in ROH or New Japan, I didn't realize how small this motherfucker was, right? Because, you know, you see him next to Tanahashi, who looks like a big guy, and it's like, oh, Tanahashi's just a little bit bigger than him. But then you see him in WWE, and you're like, this guy's tiny, man. This guy's tiny. Those camera tricks they do in Japan don't really work, motherfuckers. So, that's that. Bobby Fish, I mean, I'm not saying it's holding Kyle O'Reilly back. I like their team, but I liked Kyle O'Reilly before and after Red Dragon. So there you have it. You know, I like Kyle O'Reilly. Now, Pete Dunne, I like Pete Dunne too. Pete Dunne is interesting, right? Like he has some weird moves, but he's good. You know, he's just good. Like this guy doesn't fuck up too often. He has like fun moves that are unique to him, and he does like. I mean, I don't like the whole pull the fingers bullshit, but he does things like he has that little double stomp to the guy's hands and then kick to the head, right? I like that. I like things like that. Things that are like clever and different, right? And of course, we have Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle is a star, man. I mean, like when I say star, he's not like Velveteen Dream level, but he is good. Matt Riddle is someone that can be like, I mean, he's not going to be like a main eventer, but he could be someone that like almost like a Kofi Kingston, right? But like better than Kofi Kingston because he's more athletic than Kofi Kingston. But like someone like that, someone that's kind of like a goof their entire career, and then years down the line, he has a moment where he becomes serious and he starts like, he starts wrestling seriously, right? That's something that I can see. I can see that in the future of Matt Riddle. Like the thing about Matt Riddle is like, whereas I think Velveteen Dream is just an exceptionally good actor, like he's just good at wrestling, you know? So he makes the Velveteen Dream persona, you know, like seem like that's how he is. Right, I really believe that Matt Riddle is exactly like his character is. You know, he's just like a really chill guy, a really fun person. You know, I really enjoy Matt Riddle, and this guy is as athletic as they come. You know, honestly, I think in NXT he's probably the one who is the most athletic. Like I think he's the best wrestler in NXT. I'm not even joking now. Like this guy, I mean, if he stopped doing like jumping knees and shit like that, this guy does insane moves, man. He does like the GTS into a German suplex. He does like the Bro Derek, which is a great name. The knee to the face is whatever, you know, but he does like the jackhammer. Like this guy's great, man. Matt Riddle is just awesome, you know. And the fact that he's a legit former UFC fighter adds to the mystique, you know. It creates that idea that it's like, oh shit, motherfucks. You know what I mean? Like we have a guy who's legit, but like the gimmick is almost like like back in the day in New Japan, from what I understand, Nakamura's gimmick seemed to be that he's just this guy who's like kind of like a retard, right? But he has the skills. He has the skills to become a champion. But for a long time, he was just this guy who wasn't putting it together. Maybe that's how I read it by watching his videos, because he was, you know, acting like an alcoholic. And I know a lot about alcoholics, motherfuckers. But like that's kind of the idea behind Matt Riddle, right? Like this is a guy that can go when he needs to. But the implicitness of his gimmick is that he's not serious, right? That's why it works well with Pete Dunne, because Pete Dunne's like a really serious guy. And Matt Riddle is like this guy who comes off as goofy, but together they can do great things because Matt Riddle actually is like a hardworking guy who wrestles very well, right? Now, with all that being said, up in this, right? I don't know why they won. I'm not really a fan of these like makeshift tag teams. One of my friends was saying like, oh, WWE is clearly copying NXT. Like, this is like the new thing going around, I guess, right? WWE is copying not NXT, AEW, right? So they're like, well, first of all, like my friend was like, Seth Rollins and his group is just like the Inner Circle. And I'm like, in what sense? Like, they happen to be a group? I mean, I see the similarities, right? Like, there's like a leader, and then there's like a young guy, Buddy Murphy, who would be the equivalent of Sammy Guevara, and you have a tag team, right? And then you have Jack Swagger in, what's it called? Fucking Inner Circle. And now you have, I don't know if Jeff Cobb is part of it, but now you have Jeff Cobb. So it's like, I see the similarities, but that's a pretty basic structure for a stable. Like, a lot of stables are like that, where they have like the Radicals were like that, right? Where you had like Benoit, you had Eddie Guerrero, who was like the mid-carders. I mean, like, they're both mid-carders, but you had like Benoit, who was like upper mid-carder, Eddie Guerrero, solid lower mid-carder at that time, and Perry Saturn and Dean Malenko, who no one cared about. They were like relegated to a tag team, right? You had these motherfuckers, you know? Like, there was an element to that, right? But the whole problem with these motherfuckers, right, was that, like, they too were just a stable. Like, there's nothing specific that WWE is stealing from AEW, right? So the other argument that my friend had was like, oh, they're stealing from AEW because they seem to be making the Broserweights the tag champs, right? And I'm like, so what the fuck are you talking about? And he said, well, they made Adam Page and Kenny Omega the tag champs, right? So it's like they put two guys together that are a tag team. And I'm like, dude, have you heard of Stone Cold and Mankind? I mean, Stone Cold and Undertaker? Have you heard of the Rock and Sock Connection? So many teams are two guys put together, right? That's like a common thing. Beer Money was like that. This is like a very common wrestling trope, right? It's typically two guys that don't get along, right? Which is exactly what's happening in AEW. Like I mean, Adam Page and Kenny Omega get along, but you see where this is going, right? Like, obviously Adam Page and Kenny Omega get in a feud at one point. So it's like, yeah, it's two guys that don't get along. And the Broserweights kind of have the same dynamic. Head Cheese, which is Al Snow and Steve Blackman, same dynamic, right? There's pretty much two wrestling dynamics. Either best friends / brothers, or two guys that don't get along, right? X-Pac and Kane was two guys from two different walks of life who made a tag team, right? And then became friends. And then X-Pac betrayed Kane. That's right, motherfuckers. Remember X-Pac? He was great. So there you have it. You know what I mean? Like, the match was decent. The Broserweights won with this like weird double kick finish. Like, Matt Riddle had the guy in like a fireman's carry, threw him up. He did like some sort of kick. And Pete Dunne, or as Nigel McGuinness was calling him, Pete Dune, I enjoyed that a lot, did this like enziguri. It was like a shitty tag finish, you know, but it was better than their other one, which is like just stupid, where like Pete Dunne does half his move and then Matt Riddle hits a knee. You know, I'm tired of these running knee strikes, you know. Like, what the fuck's up with these knee wrestlers? You know, Buddy Murphy, Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega. Stop it, man. It's not fun. It's stupid, you know. And then finally, after we crowned some new tag champs, you know what I'm saying, we had the main event. We had Tommaso Ciampa, a.k.a. Steroids Boy, versus, what's it called? Maybe he's not on steroids, I don't know. Versus Adam Cole, baby, right? And before this, they showed a package, right? The storyline pretty much hinges on the fact that Tommaso Ciampa never lost the title. And at some point, he resents Adam Cole because he's like, Adam Cole, he's like, you have like my life, right? Like, you took my thing and it was handed to you. And I'm like, wait a second, did he beat Johnny Gargano for it? Like, how was it handed to him? He beat the guy who was champion, who, you know, won the match after Tommaso Ciampa was gone, right? So he was right there. He was going to be like number one contender. And then, you know what I'm saying? He had to beat someone who became champion to become champion. That's how you become champion. What is the alternative? Everyone wait around for a year until Tommaso Ciampa gets well again so he can get injured in another 3 months? Get the fuck out of here, right? And I think if they're smart, this is like part of what the next feud's going to be, right? And I'll get to that in a second. The match was all right. You know, the match was like, I expected a good match, but it was just all right. And the reason it was just all right was, once again, motherfucks, the no selling, right? The no selling. You know, if in one match, someone goes down for 35 seconds with an enziguri, right? Like in the Finn Balor-Johnny Gargano match, right? At one point, Finn Balor did like a Pele. Like, basically, Johnny Gargano hit like a lawn dart, but Finn Balor kind of turned his body, got up, and then they had this like strike sequence, which ended with Johnny Gargano doing an enziguri and getting up. And before Finn Balor fell, he did a Pele kick, which hit Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano fell on top of Finn Balor, got a 2 count. And then Finn Balor stayed down for another 10 seconds. Now, I understand the wrestling logic is that, you know, he can stay down 10 seconds because no one's bothering him, right? He can rest, you know? But you can't do that and then in the same show have a big-ass dude, right, kick out of a sit-down elevated powerbomb from an even bigger-ass dude? It doesn't make sense, right? What does this say? The question becomes, what would happen if Keith Lee did this to Finn Balor, right? Would Finn Balor also, no sell it? Or would he go down for the 3? You know what I mean? Like what the fuck? There's too many unanswered questions, right, in terms of that. Now, after the match, right, or not after the match, but during the match, after, everyone kicks out of everyone's finisher about 15 times, Tommaso Ciampa kicked out of the last shot, 3 times. 3 times, man. Oh, he didn't kick out, but, 3 times the last shot didn't finish him. Let's put it that way, right? And he hit the fairy tale ending on, what's it called? Adam Cole. And I knew that Adam Cole was going to kick out just because of the even Stevens booking, right? You can't have one guy kick out of 3 finishers and then the other guy goes down to 1. I think that was the biggest criticism of the Cena times, right? Where it's Cena, Cena would never be put down by 1 finisher. Almost never, right? He'd kick out of 2 or 3, then he'd hit 1 AA and he'd win. That's why later Cena, Cena versus AJ Styles, was a much better Cena because AJ Styles was kicking out of avalanche attitude adjustments. And John Cena had to do 2 consecutive attitude adjustments to beat AJ Styles, right? That makes more sense, it puts AJ Styles over as a guy that can kick out of this move that's put down everybody there is to put down. So, but in the case of Tommaso Ciampa and Adam Cole, this didn't happen. People were just kicking out like it's nothing, right? At the end of the match, Johnny Gargano comes out and grabs the NXT title, which is now in the ring. The referee's been knocked out, by the way, cucks. And obviously a betrayal's coming, right? And he hits Tommaso Ciampa with the title on the head, and then Adam Cole pins Tommaso Ciampa. As a finish, it worked, because a title belt to the head should hurt enough to put someone down for the count like a bitch. Now, the announcers obviously were sympathetic towards Ciampa, who's the face. And at some point, Nigel McGuinness said, he hit Ciampa in the head, but he may as well have hit him right through the heart. And I'm like, the heart? Wasn't he supposed to be the black heart? This guy has no emotions. So now Tommaso Ciampa is going to be upset and feel betrayed at Johnny Gargano? That makes no sense. Have some consistency. Tommaso Ciampa either is the guy that has no emotions and doesn't care, the black heart, right? Or he's just another wrestler. Then he becomes just another wrestler, right? And to be honest, I'm fucking sick and tired of DIY and their consistent feuding or teaming. All these motherfuckers do is feud with each other or team with each other. Right? They don't do anything else. Even in scenarios where one of them has a match with someone else, the other guy is out in the back making coffee or something. He's involved somehow, right? So I don't like that. Now, I can only hope that the creative people are smart enough to make this feud about Johnny Gargano saying, well, wait a second. You said in your promo package, and you've been saying for weeks, that the title was handed to Adam Cole. But it wasn't handed. I had to fight for that title while you were gone with another injury, right? And while you made my life a living hell, I came back and I fought for that title. So it wasn't handed to him. Don't trivialize me, basically, right? That might make, I don't want to say a compelling feud because nothing can be compelling about this, but that might be a little bit more entertaining than just you betrayed me, so I betrayed you, because that can go on forever, Oh, I betrayed you, you betrayed me, I thought we were over it, It's like a fucking Eminem song. Every Eminem album is like that. In one album, he's like, me and Kim are together, we love each other. In the next one, it's like, stupid bitch, I hope you burn in hell, Same thing with his mom, same thing with everybody, man. These emotionally unstable people need to, honestly stay far away from our culture. Straight up, man. We need more heroes, man. More Goldbergs. Someone like Nicolas Cage from Con Air, motherfucks. Someone like that, Clint Eastwood. You know what I mean? Like real ones, real men. So anyways, the show, was, I don't want to say it was horrible, but I can't say it was enjoyable. I can't say that I overall enjoyed it, right? I mean, if I were to watch a WWF pay-per-view from 1999, even if it's I remember one match I saw was Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart versus D'Lo Brown and Test. D'Lo Brown and Test, I think it was at WrestleMania. They won some battle royal on Sunday Night Heat. Well, they didn't even win it. It was an every man for himself battle royal. But the last 2 guys become a makeshift tag team and challenge the tag team champions, Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett. And even that match was more interesting. It was entertaining because D'Lo Brown and Test didn't like each other, and Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart were best friends. And they put on a good match. It was a great opener to WrestleMania. It was entertaining, right? You had Deborah out there. You had Terry Runnels out there, and I think Ivory, whoever, PMS or Jacqueline, one of them with D'Lo. It was just good, man. It was just an enjoyable opening match, right? And these matches, The problem is 100% motherfuckers. The problem is Triple H. Triple H doesn't understand this anymore, man. He is gone. You know, people are like, Vince McMahon's out of touch. Triple H is out of touch, motherfuckers. Triple H, like I saw the Mark Henry documentary earlier today, and Mark Henry was saying how he went to Vince and said, I'm going to retire. And he walked out of that room with a 5-year deal because Vince McMahon is super persuasive. And that led to that moment where Mark Henry pretended he was retiring and hit John Cena with the World's Strongest Slam, right? Which objectively is a good segment. I thought it was very predictable, but it was a good segment, you know? Like, that's the kind of shit that Vince comes up with. What Triple H comes up with is Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair, which might be a great match in the ring, but why should I care about that, man? It doesn't matter. First of all, I know that Rhea Ripley's going to win. Secondly, I don't care about the NXT Women's title, right? And I don't care about virtually anything that happened today. Like, does it really matter who the North American champion is? No, it doesn't matter, man. You have to make titles matter. For one thing that I give credit to indie wrestling for is I watched this old ass match back in the day, right? Like I just got like a little pay-per-view on demand. It was like $6 or some bullshit ROH, you know, like cost, right? And the final match was they had like a world title match. No one cared. The final match was Daniel Bryan and Austin Aries, right? As a tag team, the challengers, versus the tag team of the Age of the Fall, which was fucking Jimmy Jacobs and Tyler Black, who the Smarks know as Seth Rollins, motherfuckers, before he made it, right? And this was the first time that I'd seen Seth Rollins, and I was like, this guy's going to be, in my head, I'm like, this guy's going to be a star, man. Only because he did things that I'd never seen, right? And the match was so well done, and the announcers, they said, they're like, you know, in ROH, unlike other wrestling companies, we value our tag team championships and our tag titles, right? We value it. It matters, right? So it's not unforeseeable to see a pay-per-view end with a tag team title match being the thing that closes the show, right? Because why shouldn't it? If it's the most compelling match, it should, right? And I'm like, but the implications of the match were that you had Jimmy Jacobs was feuding with Austin Aries, who had long hair at the time, right? So they went after each other, like they had like a blood feud going, right? And near the end of the match, they eliminated each other. Like they went out, started fighting amongst the fans, doing crazy shit, but fighting amongst the fans. But the match was still going. The titles were still on the line. So in the ring, you had Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, whatever the fuck his name was, right? Against Tyler Black, motherfuckers. And I'm just like, all right, I know that this Danielson guy is a big deal, so let's see what he does, right? So I'm like, all right, based on wrestling logic, right? Jimmy Jacobs was the leader of the Age of the Fall. So clearly, Tyler Black was the inferior one, right? So I'm thinking, and clearly Austin Aries, even though he's a former champ, he is inferior to Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan was like a big deal. At that time, he was at the height of like, oh, Bryan Danielson, best in the world, like that kind of bullshit, right? So I'm like, all right, so Bryan Danielson is going to beat like the Devon of this team, right? No, motherfucks. What happened was Seth Rollins kicked out of like some big move that Daniel Bryan did or got out of a submission, hit like a super kick and did a Phoenix Splash. Or no, sorry, he hit the small package driver, right? Which was called God's Last Gift. He hit that, did the Phoenix Splash and pinned him. And it was like this moment, it was legit surprising, right? It was so well done because you had this jobber who ended up being ROH champion and then went to WWE, Seth Rollins, and now he's like obviously a big deal, right? You had this guy beating Daniel Bryan, who was already a big deal, in the main event, right? These are the two guys that the match wasn't about these two guys, but it became about Seth Rollins. They clearly had plans for this motherfucker, right? So it became something else. It was a tag match for the tag titles, but there was something greater happening. That's called good booking, right? Where you're expecting one thing, you're getting something completely different, right? In the ring. Now, WWE is not capable of that. It hasn't been in a long time, right? You know, twists and turns and things like that are what make wrestling good. And when I say twists and turns, I mean something like I said in my earlier video, which hasn't been released yet, motherfuckers, my video about top 10 wrestlers, right? I guess I won't ruin it, right? But I won't ruin what I'm talking about. But the point is that there are things that NXT does, right? And things that they don't do. And what they don't do is actual good storylines, right? The storylines are always about the championships, which typically is fine, but not in WWE, right? In WWE, you need something more. And nowadays, it's just like my best friend betrayed me. It made me think to myself, like when Tegan Nox and the other broad were wrestling, like Beth Phoenix is like, they used to be best friends. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck, man? Every time someone's best friends with someone in wrestling, they betray each other. Like every time. Like 100% of the time. I don't think there's been one time when it hasn't happened. Right? Not even one time when like two best friends haven't feuded. I guess maybe like Mark and Jay Briscoe from ROH. But that's the only exception. Everything else, they start feuding, man. They start feuding or they start going their own ways or something, right? You know what I mean? So I'm sick and tired of that trope. I much rather would prefer Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, two best friends who don't like each other, because Eddie Guerrero is just petty and jealous and hateful and wants to hold over Rey Mysterio's head the fact that Dominique might be his son, right? That's, even though it's trashy and goofy, it's better storytelling than this kind of garbage, right? I don't care like about Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. It's been like 5 fucking years, man. You know, people got angry during that 1.5-year period where like seemingly every pay-per-view was John Cena versus Orton, right? But what about now? What about Gargano and fucking Ciampa, right? Just the fact that like Randy Orton and Cena are better athletes and they don't get injured as often as Ciampa Gargano get injured every 3 weeks. There's like an injury for one of them, so the feud has to go on 5 fucking years, right? But I'm tired of it, man. Why would anyone give a shit about this? Both of these guys are jobbers, you know? They're never gonna become WWE champion. So you have to make me care, Triple H, you cuck, right? You have to make me care. And Triple H used to be really good at making me care when he was a wrestler. You know, because there was no one more hateable than like 1999 Triple H. That guy was a piece of shit. You know what I'm saying? He was horrible. He's just pedigreeing everybody, doesn't give a fuck, breaking JR's arm, you know, like just doing horrible shit. That's what I want to see. I want to see things, I want to see emotion, right? Like, but like real emotion. Not, wow, didn't you guys get goosebumps when Nakamura came out? No, I didn't, man. Where the fuck would I? That's fucking weird. I don't give a rat's ass about Nakamura. Oh, Cesaro came out as James Bond. That's a great thing. No, it's not. It's stupid. Stupid, right? I want to see emotions, man. I want to see JBL beat up Hornswoggle in front of Finley, who is his father, right? I want to see horrible shit like that. I want to see vile things like the Dudley Boys powerbombing Mae Young through a table. If I wanted to see best friends just betraying each other meaninglessly, I'd watch some soap operas up in this bitch. The beauty of wrestling is that the betrayal comes with cost. It comes with legitimate drawbacks, right? You ruin this guy's chance to become champion, or you ruin this guy's like life by, I don't know, crippling him or something, right? Or you beat up this, like when Bubba Ray beat up Devon's sons, right? Who are his like nephews. They call him Uncle Bubba, right? When he beat him up in front of Devon in TNA, that felt vile, right? When he was bullying people for no reason, it felt grotesque, right? It's like you really start hating. I mean, I start liking it because I watch from like a meta perspective, right? As like a longtime fan. But if you're like a normal fan, you watch that, you're like, wow, this is like such a horrible heel. Even Kevin Owens betraying Sami Zayn, you're like, wow, what a piece of shit. I really can't wait till this guy gets his comeuppance, you know? Because he will eventually. You know what I'm saying? He obviously will. So you look forward to that, right? But in these scenarios, how can I look forward to what the Broserweights are going to do next? Why would I give a shit? The Finn Balor thing is done, right? Johnny Gargano has no reason to get revenge on him. Finn Balor just beat him in a match. Johnny Gargano turned heel at the end. You know, so much for the fact that Finn Balor took him out for months, right? Next week he's going to be teaming up with Finn Balor or some bullshit. That's what I'm saying, man. It's just garbage, dog. It's garbage, you know? This video's gone a little too long because I wanted a mini rant in the end. But that's only because I felt like the video itself might have been a bit boring for you guys, because this show, quite frankly, was a little bit boring up in this bitch. You know what I'm saying? And there's been one more subscriber, but he is one of the ones that doesn't appear. So I cannot give him a shout out. Recognize that, motherfuckers. Right? So with that, I'm going to leave you guys now. I did record another video, but just because I've already made 2 today, I might release it on Wednesday or something. And not only that, but I have to actually work on it a little bit and put in like different pictures of different wrestlers so you see what wrestler I'm talking about when I say this guy comes in at number 9, motherfuckers. Number 9 is going to be a fun one. Sorry, motherfuckers. Take care of yourself. Stay dirty. And I'll see you guys. I'm going to do a video tomorrow because Monday Night Raw, you know what I'm saying? So I'll see you guys then. Cooks!